Hello, I'm Elise, this is Witch Way, and I'll be taking you through the real-world witch lore of the Ninth Gate. Released in 1999, this mystery film stars Johnny Depp as Dean Corso, Frank Langella as Boris Balkan, Lena Olin as Liana Telfer, and Emmanuel Signa as the Girl. Corso is a book dealer and is hired by Balkan to compare a copy of an occult book in his collection to the only other two copies in existence, as supposedly only one of these books was supposed to have survived. Corso is trailed by the mysterious Girl on his investigations, and he soon finds out that his employer will go to any lengths to retrieve these other copies. And he isn't the only one. Liana Telfer is also after the book, and Corso's life is now in danger. But why does everyone want these books? Because apparently they can summon Satan himself. This film is based off the novel The Club du Mas, and the images in this book were used in the film in the fictional book that Corso is investigating, known as The Book of the Nine Gates of the Kingdom of Shadows. This book was written by Aristide Torquia in 1666 and was apparently copied from the Demonology, which was written by Lucifer himself. Torquia was burned at the stake the following year for heresy, magic, and witchcraft, along with his books. But a few copies survived, and the coven of witches, known as the Order of the Silver Serpent, read from these surviving copies on the anniversary of Torquia's death. The three surviving copies of the Nine Gates are all part of different collections, so I wanted to know which occult books mentioned in these collections in the film and the book were the real deal. We of course start with Balkans Collection, or Borgia in the book. His collection all share the same protagonist.
The devil.
So you'd think he would know better than to use the number of the beast as the entry code to his collection. That one's a no-brainer. Many of the books mentioned in his collection in the book are unfortunately fictional or inspired by other works, but I was able to track down a couple that are actual works, such as Steganographia, written in 1499 by Johann Trithemius, which appears to be a book about magic, but a decryption key published shows that they are actually works relating to cryptography and stenography. I would love to know more about that book, but I digress. The second book is Du Livre de la Haine de Satan, or Two Books on the Hatred of Satan by Pierre Crespit from 1590. The first part of this book details spells of the devils and demons, and the second part the remedies to these malefic powers. In the film, we also see Balkan delivering a lecture, and he references another real book.
Earlier in 1580, in De la Démonomanie des Sorciers by the Frenchman Jean Baudin.
Or on the demon mania of witches.
Baudin, we find one of the first definitions of the word witch. I quote, "A witch is a person who, though cognizant of the laws of God, endeavors to act through the medium of a pact with the devil."
Chapter 1 is indeed called The Definition of Witches. This book also contains discussions on magic and demons, witchcraft beliefs, and the prosecution of those accused of witchcraft. We next move on to the occult section of the Balkans Collection. Of course, he has his The Nine Gates, but he also has the oldest book on this list, The Book of Wonders, a 14th century manuscript by Hassan Efsahani on astrology, astronomy, and geomancy, and includes some beautiful full-page illustrations. Next up,
Leonardo Fioravanti's Compendio di Secreti, 1571.
This is Leonardo Fioravanti's Compendio di Secreti from 1571, or A Compendium of the Rational Secrets of the Worthy Knight and Most Excellent Doctor of Physic and Surgery, Leonardo Fioravante Bolognese. Yeah, and that's not the shortest title on this list. This book is divided into 3 sections and describes diseases and wounds as well as their treatments, but also unlocks the mysteries of medicine and secrets of alchemy. Vargas also has Oedipus Aegyptiacus by Athanasius Kircher from 1652 to 1654, which attempts to translate Egyptian hieroglyphs, apparently unsuccessfully. But my favourite on this list has got to be this last one.
Plancy's Dictionnaire Infernal, first edition.
The Dictionnaire Infernal, or Infernal Dictionary by Jacques de Plancy from 1818, describes over 60 demons and is accompanied by some awesome illustrations of several of them. The final collection belongs to a previous member of the aforementioned Order of the Silver Serpent, Baroness Kessler, or Ungern in the book. She's the author of several books on the devil and witchcraft, including Isis, the Naked Virgin. This perhaps is a reference to the book Isis Unveiled by Theosophist Helena Blavatsky. The Baroness, of course, has her copy of The Nine Gates, but several other real-world books on occultism and witchcraft are mentioned as being part of her collection. We of course have the Malleus Maleficarum, or Hammer of the Witches, written by Heinrich Kramer in 1486. This book is divided into 3 sections. The first part, the concept of witchcraft, the devil, a witch, and the permission of God. Part 2, methods of witchcraft and how it may be removed. And finally, part 3, how one may go about trying witches. This book became the how-to for many witch trials and was partially blamed for the surge of witch trials in the 15th and 16th century. Next in her collection is Demonology by Nicholas Remy from 1595, again in 3 parts. How people can be led astray by demons to practice the black arts and the oaths and practices of these witches, followed by examples from stories of how people were influenced by demons, and then, of course, how to punish one accused of these damnable behaviours. The next book came from around 1599, Disquisitionum Magicarum by Martin del Rio, also known as Magical Investigations. It is a 6-volume work about magic in general, magic involving evil spirits, harmful magic, divination, advice for judges dealing with the accused, and even the duty of the confessor when he hears about these damnable magic acts. The Compendium Maleficarum by Francesco Guazzo from 1608 is another 3-part witch hunting guide in the Baroness's collection. The first part details witches, their pacts with demons and their abilities. The second details the kinds of witchcraft and other matters such as poisons and potions. And the final section, the remedies for those who are bewitched. This book is also well known for its illustrations depicting the process of a witch's pact with the devil and their witches' sabbaths. Both the Compendium Maleficarum and Demonology are mentioned during Balkans' lecture in the film. Next in the Baroness's collection, we have another 17th century book, De Demoniality et Incubus et Succubus, or Demonality, or Incubi and Succubi, a treatise wherein it is shown that there are in existence on earth rational creatures besides man, endowed like him with a body and a soul, that are born and die like him, redeemed by our Lord Jesus Christ, and capable of receiving salvation or damnation. See, that's the longest one. This one is by Sinistrari, and it defines demoniality, how demons have intercourse with witches and wizards, and even stories of this happening. He even references the aforementioned Compendium Maleficarum and several other witchy and occult works. This film, and the novel it was inspired by, definitely scores for history, lore, and a little bit of the craft. I will link where I found these books in the info below if you want to have a read through of them yourself. I liked this movie, though it did seem a little flat. And my gosh, the way they handled these old books is heinous. That must be on purpose, because even at one point they spill ash on one of the original copies of The Nine Gates. The title of this book is most likely referencing Dante's 9 Circles of Hell. I guess you would need 9 gates to get through the 9 circles. The director of this film also directed another novel to film adaptation, Rosemary's Baby, and you can go and check that out if you liked this one, and then go check out my witch lore review in the process. For another fun lesson, you can also go and check out the episode on the podcast Uncle Bob's Magic Cabinet. I freaking love this podcast and I can't recommend it enough. Lee and Laurie take you through magic and mythology in pop culture with a fun lesson to follow each film review, and Fact Check Jake keeps them in line. Or tries to. In this episode, they also touch on some of the issues around the director of this film, so well done on acknowledging that, guys. Seriously, go and check out Uncle Bob's, #not sponsored. Well, what did you think of The Ninth Gate? Let me know in the comments below, as well as any other witchy recommendations for my upcoming witch lore reviews or folklore and fairy tales. Check out my socials for some additional content and updates, and as always, thank you very much for watching here on Witch Way.